All rise. Please face the flag of our nation and recognize the principles for which it stands. Project 81 is now in session. Honorable Mark E. Wyndham, Judge, presiding.
Please be seated, everyone. Good morning. Back to Department 81 in the case of People versus Robert Durst. Mr. Durst is present with Mr. Chesnoff, Mr. DeGuerin, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Ray, representing the people. We have Mr. Lewin, Mr. Balen, Mr. Miata, Mr. Henderson, Mr. Milius. All of our jurors and alternates are present. The camera's gone. You don't have to worry about the camera. We do have microphones, though, so that people can huddle near their radios and listen to our proceedings if it interests them. So, with that out of the way, it's time for us to begin the evidence in this case. So, the people may call their first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. People call Dr. Marvin Karp. It's nice to stand.
Yes, Mr. Bellion.
Come stand in the witness stand. In the witness stand, please. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you're about to give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Please be seated. Please pull the base of the mic towards you. Thank you. Please state and spell your first and last name.
Marvin, M-A-R-V-I-N, Karp, K-A-R-P.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Karp, Dr. Karp. How do you prefer to be called?
Fine, doctor's fine.
Okay. All right, good morning. Are you currently working?
I'm not practicing medicine at this moment, no.
Okay, what do you do right now?
I am involved with I took over a family business in New York some years ago. I have a current license in California. I could practice, but I'm not at the moment.
Okay. What was your occupation back in the year 2000?
I was a physician practicing medicine.
Okay. What type of medicine?
Physical medicine.
Where were you living at that time?
I was living at 1521 Benedict Canyon Boulevard in Beverly Hills.
And you said 1521. Got it.
Yes.
Is that, did you say in Beverly Hills?
Yes.
Is that technically in the city of Beverly Hills, within the city limits of Beverly Hills?
Well, it's the postal zone, Beverly Hills, so technically it's Los Angeles.
Let me ask you this. The question is important to people. If you have a fire at your house, who's going to come?
The fire department from Los Angeles.
Okay. And if you have to call the police, is the Beverly Hills Police Department going to respond to your house?
I would wish they would, but I don't know if they would. I think it would be the Los Angeles, LAPD.
So, in other words, even though that address on Benedict Canyon is technically within the services of Los Angeles City, you yourself, would you think of it as a Beverly Hills address?
Yes, it's 90210, so it's Beverly Hills postal zone.
Most people that you knew who lived in that area that you've spoken with, if you know based on discussions with them, did they consider that to be a Beverly Hills address?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a neighbor named Susan Berman?
Yes.
If I showed you a photo of Susan Berman, think you'd recognize her?
Yes.
I have a photo may mark it as People's One, Your Honor.
People's One.
I'm showing you what it marked as People's One. You can look at it on the screen in front of you right there. Do you recognize this woman?
Yes.
Who's that?
Susan Berman.
Okay. How did you know Susan Berman if you knew her?
Well, I I really didn't know her. I was a neighbor next to her for a short period of time that she was there, and I didn't really know her personally.
Okay. I have another, it's an aerial photograph, Your Honor. May I mark this as Peoples 2?
Yes.
I'm going to show you on the screen what's been marked as Peoples 2. Do you see that?
Yes?
All right. Do you see where it says 1521 Benedict Canyon? There's a little pin on that house right there.
My glasses, I think.
Let me blow this up for you.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
Does this photograph fairly and accurately depict Benedict Canyon in the area where you live?
Yes.
Okay. You see where there's a pin drop there that says 1521 Benedict Canyon?
Yes.
Is that your house?
Yes.
And where did Susan Berman live in relation to you?
She was on the, I guess, the north side of me, 1527 Benedict Canyon.
So this particular photograph, Peoples 2, does Benedict Canyon run north and south then?
Yes.
Would north be towards the top of this diagram or the bottom of the diagram?
Where my house is?
Yeah, like if you're driving up from the bottom of this piece of paper to the top, are you driving north or south?
North.
North. Your Honor, on Peoples 2, I'm going to go ahead and place an N with an arrow towards it, indicating the direction north.
You may.
Thank you. Okay. When did you move into your home?
I believe it was September 1, my lease began September 1, 2000.
And was Susan Berman already living there when you moved in, or?
I don't recall, to be honest with you.
That's fair. Did you have a neighbor named Jeff Cutter?
I didn't know him, I knew of him. He was on the other side of Susan Berman's house, north of her house.
Okay. So on Peoples 2, it would be the house just north of 1527 Benedict Canyon.
Yes.
Okay. On this particular diagram where it's marked 1531 Benedict Canyon?
Yes.
How long did you live in that home?
Approximately 3 years.
Did you ever socialize with Susan Berman?
No.
Did you, were you ever inside of her home?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
3 or 4 times.
Prior to her death or after her death?
You know, I don't remember. I know I'd been in the house, but I think it was prior.
Okay, but you don't have an exact memory of that as you sit here
I
right now?
can't be exact.
Okay. Would you sometimes, did you ever have discussions with her?
No.
Did you ever speak words to her, or work with her in passing?
No.
Would you see her around her property?
Occasionally.
Would you see her occasionally in the front of her property?
Most of the time in the rear part of the house.
Okay. And would that be, you would see her like when she was in her backyard?
Yes.
Would she be with anyone or any animals when she was in the backyard?
She had, I thought, 2 dogs. I heard there was a third, but I knew there were 2 dogs.
Okay, well, we just want to know what you remember, okay?
Yes.
So, you remember at least 2 dogs?
Yes.
Large dogs, small dogs?
Terrier dogs, fairly small.
You said terrier?
Terrier types.
Okay. What do you remember about her dog?
They barked. They barked incessantly a lot.
Yeah, did that bother you?
Sometimes.
Okay. And would they bark when they're in the backyard, inside her house? Could you tell from your perspective?
Usually in the house, in her house.
That road depicted on Peoples 2, Benedict Canyon. Describe for the jury what that road is like in front of your house.
Well, Beverly Hills is a principal thoroughfare, you know, going from, say, Beverly Hills or Sunset Boulevard up to Mulholland Drive, so it's a major road to cross over to the valley side if one wants to do that. Cross Mulholland and go down Beverly Glen Boulevard down to the valley, if that's what they care to do. So it's a busy street.
Are you saying that people travel that road who don't want to take the 405?
That could be,
Okay.
yeah.
Are there occasions when that road is bumper to bumper?
Yes,
When it's not bumper to bumper, strike that. On the weekend, what's that road like?
sorry.
On the weekend, what
On
is,
the weekends, well, sometimes very little traffic.
how quick do the cars drive up and down that road when there's no traffic?
Some very quickly, pretty fast sometimes.
Okay. Would you say that's a type of road that you would want to leave with small children unattended in front of their house?
Definitely not.
Would you say that's the type of road that you would want to leave an animal that you cared about loose in front of your house?
No.
Why not?
Well, there's a chance a dog or anything could be run over.
Cars travel fairly quickly on that road.
Yes,
Is there public parking in 2000 on that road?
there is some.
So if someone wanted to visit you at your home in the year 2000, could they park on that road, maybe even down the street from your house?
Yes,
Back in 2000, was there parking on both sides of that road? Do you remember?
yes, pretty much the same.
I'm going to ask you about some questions about a particular day in the year 2000, around the holiday. Do you remember generally the period of time when your neighbor Susan Berman was murdered? Just generally that period of time?
Yes,
All right. What year was that?
2000,
Okay. Do you remember what month it was?
December.
At some point that month, prior to her death, did you see something out of the ordinary or have an encounter out of the ordinary for you?
No,
Okay. And when I ask that question, are you assuming I'm asking you about with respect to whether you saw something relating to the murder?
well, what I first saw was on a Saturday morning, that's what I did see.
Okay, let's talk about that. That's what I'm asking you.
You want me to describe what I saw?
Well, was it a Saturday morning?
I believe so, yeah.
What date was it?
The 23rd of December.
Okay. And was that date after the fact? Did it have some significance to you based on what had happened at Susan Berman's home?
Yes,
Okay. How confident are you that what you're about to tell us about occurred on December 23rd?
I remember certain things, yes.
Okay. And in fact, did you speak with the police back when it occurred?
Yes,
And did you provide them the date that you made these observations?
yes.
All right. Tell us what happened that morning on December 23rd.
Well, as I recall, I awakened Saturday morning, and I believe I went to the front door at some point, and there was a yard in front, and I noticed two dogs running around, mostly around my property in the front. So I was near the door. They were friendly. They came over, petted them, I suppose. And I realized, I said, gee, I think those are Susan Berman's dogs next door. And that's strange that I would find them running around. I never saw them out on the street. I never saw them anywhere out away from the house. So it was strange that they were loose and just kind of dancing, just prancing around the yard. And then one of them ran into the street, and I was a little worried about that. And then came back in. And then I thought, gee, very strange, these dogs are loose. I think I should go over to the house and alert her, your dogs are out.
Did you do that?
I almost did it, and then what happened, one dog began to run toward her house, and the other one followed, and they ran away. They ran back to the house. I said, okay, I guess they're okay. They'll get home, and they'll be taken care of. So I didn't do anything more about it.
Okay. Did you recognize those dogs as being Susan Berman's dogs from seeing them in her backyard?
Yes.
Did you, as you sit here today, do you remember if you checked their tags to confirm those were Susan Berman's dogs?
I did not, that
did
I
not?
remember.
You don't have a memory of that?
I do not.
Okay. Did you speak with, what time was it in the morning that you saw these dogs, approximately?
I'm guessing maybe 9 o'clock, 9:30. It's hard to say, to remember exactly. Could have been earlier, I don't remember.
But the best of your memory today is it was 9 or 9:30?
Sometime in that vicinity, I think.
Okay. How good are your memories of what you've told us here today?
Oh, I remember.
Okay. As to the specific details of the exact times you saw these dogs, for instance, or whether you checked the tag, do you have a full enough and complete enough memory today, as you sit here today, 20 years later, to relate to us those specific details?
Yes, pretty much so.
Okay. Well, did you see Susan Berman out there at all when these dogs were out there?
No.
Was she anywhere around that morning that you saw?
No.
Had you ever seen her dogs loose like that in this particular area before?
First time.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Now, you've indicated, excuse me, you've indicated you live right next door to her, correct?
Yes,
To Susan Berman, that is.
yes,
Now, from your house, while you were in your house, you'd be able to see portions of her house, correct?
yes,
And I gather from your testimony, from your house, you would be able to see portions of her backyard, correct?
correct.
Would it be accurate that you could not see all of her backyard from your house?
That's correct.
Now, for example, at this point and back then, you were aware that there was a back door to her house, correct?
Yes,
Could you see that back door from your house?
no,
You indicated that you heard the dogs barking in her house from time to time, correct?
yes,
So you were close enough, your home was close enough so that you could hear that while you were in your house, is that correct?
yes.
Now, in the hours before, the day before, the time period that you saw these dogs, did you hear anything unusual coming from her house?
No,
Did you hear anything that sounded like a gunshot?
no,
Did you hear any screaming or yelling from her
no.
house? When you saw the dogs, do you remember at this point, excuse me, whether the dogs had their leashes on?
I don't believe they did. I don't remember seeing leashes.
Now, you described the fact that after you saw the dogs and you became concerned about them, they ran back eventually to their own home, correct?
Yes, in that direction, I assume, to the house.
Well, did you see where they went? In other words, did they go to the other side of the house or to the front door? Did you see?
I didn't see.
After they did that and went wherever they went, did you continue to stay outside?
Perhaps for a short while, I don't recall exactly, but I probably didn't stay too long in front. I think I was ready to leave the house for some time that day.
But whatever that time was that you stayed outside, you didn't see the dogs coming back, is that correct?
I did not.
Now, you have told us that, excuse me, that you saw Susan Berman walking or playing with her dogs in her backyard, correct? On occasion.
Occasionally, yes.
And when you saw that, did you ever see her walk the dogs around to the front of the house to go in the front door?
I don't think so. I don't recall.
So from your perception of what was happening, she would play with the dogs in the backyard, and then she had a back door that she could walk right into her house, correct?
Yes. I don't remember if she was playing with the dogs or doing things in the yard herself, whatever things she was doing out there.
But she and the dogs would be in the backyard at the same time.
I've seen that, yes.
And she had available to the back door that she could walk into.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, if, let's just assume for the moment that she had the dogs outside in the backyard and she was going into her home, all right? You would be able to see her at least up until the point that she got somewhere near the back door, but not when she got to the back door, correct?
Probably so, yeah.
And so, at that point that she was there with the dogs and the back door would be open, if someone came up to her, they could have forced her through that door without you seeing, correct?
Correct.
You indicated that you were interviewed by the police back at the time that this happened in 2000, correct?
Yes, the first time that we knew there was a crime scene and I had to come back from the airport, I had picked up my daughter who was in school. It was Sunday, and I came back to the airport to my home, and there was a crime scene all set up, and my driveway was blocked because of the police car in front, and there was a commotion, a lot of people outside, and I think I was first encountered by a detective. I don't remember which one, but he was a plainclothes, he wasn't in uniform. There were some police, there was some in the car, some around, but there was a detective, I believe, I spoke to first.
And you spoke to that detective about the subject matter basically that you've told us about today, correct?
Yes.
Now, after that interview with the detective on that Sunday, were you contacted by the police later?
Yes.
When was that? Do you know?
I don't recall, there were many visits subsequent to that point. There were different people came in, some were police, some were from magazines, writers, and other people.
There was a point in time years later where you were again contacted by the authorities, correct?
Not too long after that. Well, I don't remember, but there was a period of time when while I was still living in that house. Subsequent to that, no, that I recall.
Well, in other words, you've talked to the authorities before you came here to testify, correct?
Oh, yes, of course.
All right, and there was a time lapse, obviously, between when you spoke to the detectives back in 2000 and when you spoke to the people who were taking you in here to testify, correct?
Oh, yes.
Right. Now, just going back to the period of time where you were being interviewed or spoken to by the police at or about the time that this occurred, do you have that in mind, the area that I'm talking about, the police I'm talking about?
It's not the most clear.
All right.
I can't remember exactly when they came.
Okay, that's my fault for asking it that way. In other words, I'm not asking you when they came, but there were police officers that you say visited you from time to time at or about the time that this occurred and then sometime after that, correct?
Yes.
During those periods of time, did those police officers ask you questions about anything that you knew about people who had trouble with Susan Berman?
I don't believe so.
Do you know who B. Baskin is?
Your Honor, objection, relevance, court's prior rulings.
I'm sorry, does he know?
I'll be handling all
I'm sorry,
objections.
what's the question?
Does he know who B. Baskin is?
Court's already made a ruling in this area, Your Honor.
No, the court hasn't.
Court has made a ruling.
Overruled.
You do know who she is, I think you said, correct?
Yes.
Did they ask you any questions about B. Baskin?
Not that I recall.
And B. Baskin was the person who owned the house that Susan was living in, correct?
Yes.
Did she actually own the house you were living in too?
Yes.
All right, so both you and Susan were renting from B. Baskin, correct?
Correct.
And so to your recollection, there were no questions that were asked of you whether she had problems with B. Baskin or anything along those lines?
It's tough to remember to recall, but I don't believe so.
Thank you, Doctor, I very much appreciate it.
Redirect examination?
Very briefly, Your Honor. Did you have interactions with D. Baskin?
Sorry?
Did you have interactions with D. Baskin?
I did at times,
What
yes.
was she like?
Very pleasant. Got to know her a little bit.
Was she a nice lady?
Yes?
Do you remember speaking with detectives in January of 2001? Come to your house?
I can't remember.
Would you have spoken to detectives the year this happened? In 2000?
Yes?
In December of 2000, likely.
Yes.
Would you have spoken with detectives the following month in January of 2001?
I would assume so. It's hard to recall, but I believe so.
Okay. Well, if you did, whenever you spoke with detectives, were you honest with them?
Of course.
And did you relate the facts to them as best you could remember them at that time?
Yes.
Would you say the events were more fresh in your mind back then than they are today?
Yes.
Do you remember telling a detective ever in the year 2001 that the dogs ran over you and you observed they had leashes on and you read the name Susan Berman on the dog tag?
Did I say that?
I'm asking you.
I don't recall saying that.
Is it possible you said that?
You know, to my recollection, there were no leashes on them. These dogs didn't have a leash.
Okay. Thank you. I have nothing to...
Any additional cross?
No, thank you.
May the witness be excused.
Yes, sir.
You're excused, doctor. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much.
People may call the next witness.
People call Sandra Garfield.
Your Honor, we didn't officially designate it, but I'll be handling the objections the court wants when they wanted us to be handling objections.
Thank you.
So I'll
And
respond.
for us, Your Honor, whoever is actually examining the witness will handle the objections.
Thank you.
Please come stand in the witness stand. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you're about to give and the cause now pending before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name.
Sandra Garfield, S-A-N-D-R-A-G-A-R-F-I-E-L-D.
Okay, could you just pull the mic closer to you? Thank you. Speak into it, thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Garfield.
Good morning.
Do you prefer to be called Ms. Garfield, Dr. Garfield? Which way?
Doctor,
Doctor, okay. What is your occupation?
pardon me?
What is your occupation?
I'm a psychoanalyst.
Okay. And for how many years have you had that occupation?
I have been in the field since the 70s, and I have been an analyst since 1996.
And when you say psychoanalyst, for those of us who don't know, just in very general, quick terms, what is that?
Psychoanalysis is a long-term intensive psychotherapy meeting frequently 3 to 5 times weekly for a number of years, insight-oriented.
And where do you live currently?
In Benedict Canyon, Beverly Hills, PO, but it's actually Los Angeles.
So you live in the city of Los Angeles on Benedict Canyon,
Correct.
in an area that has the same post office box, is that what you're saying, as Beverly Hills?
Post office box is Beverly Hills.
What is your address?
1441 Benedict Canyon Drive.
I'm going to show you what's previously been marked as People's 2. It's on the screen in front of you. Does this overhead aerial shot fairly and accurately depict Benedict Canyon Road in the area of your home?
Correct.
And do you see your home there on the
I
side?
see the roof of my home, yes.
Okay. And is it in the spot where there's a pin marked 1441 Benedict Canyon?
Correct.
Does that pin fairly and accurately depict where your home is?
It does.
So, fair enough. How long have you lived there?
Roughly 25 years.
Did you ever know a woman named Susan Berman?
Never.
Do you see on the People's 2 where there's a pin there that says 1527 Benedict Canyon? This is Berman after it. You see that pin?
Yes,
I take it then you didn't know the woman who lived at that particular home?
I did not.
Okay. You'd never met her?
Never.
Do you remember, in the year 2000, who was living at your home?
At my home,
Yes.
me and my husband,
Which husband's name?
John Power.
Okay. And I'm going to take you back to the year 2000, the month December.
Yes.
Okay. At that period of time, was just you and John Power living in your home?
Correct. We had house guests toward the end of the month.
Who were the house guests?
My husband's son, Boyd Power, and his then fiancee, I just forgot her name, Tess Schwartz.
Put you on the spot there. When were they coming? Was there a particular reason they were coming down to visit you?
They were coming to celebrate Christmas with us.
Do you remember what day it was they came down to your house?
I do not remember the day they came down, but I do remember they were there for at least 2 days prior to Christmas, quite possibly more than that.
Okay. Do you remember around that time hearing that Susan Berman had been killed?
I remember around that time. I remember what was going on at that time, yes.
Okay. And do you remember kind of getting a visit by the police around that time after she had been killed?
Yes.
And did they question you about some events that you had observed a particular morning in late December?
Yes, they did.
All right. Do you remember what date it was that this happened?
I do not remember the date. Thinking about the situation, my guess is it was December 23rd.
And why are you guessing it was December 23rd?
Because the day that the dog wandered into the house was December 24th. I'm pretty sure of, and I had gone to that market that day, and I'm sorry, I had been to the market on the 23rd in preparation for the Christmas holidays. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Were you making some kind of dinner celebration on Christmas Eve?
Yes,
All right. And that would have been December 24th?
correct.
And the day before, did you go to the market on the,
That's what I had thought of, which I couldn't remember. Thank you.
is that what you're trying to explain to us?
Yes,
So was it then, to the best of your memory today, December 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve, that you went to the market?
that is to the best of my memory.
Let me ask you this. These specific details about dates and times, I might ask you, how good is your memory of that today versus how it was back then?
Not nearly as good.
All right. Would you say you have a good enough, or full enough, complete enough memory today to accurately, to the best of your ability, give us all the specific details about dates and times, as good as you would back then?
No.
Did you speak with the police back then in December of 2000?
Yes,
Were you honest with them?
absolutely.
Did you accurately relay all of the details to them to the best of your ability?
I did.
Okay. And would you say, as to specific dates and times, that first interview would be the most accurate version of events?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this particular date, which you believe is the 23rd of December as you sit here today, you say you came back from the market. Approximately what time of the day was it, to the best of your memory today?
I would say it was late morning. I can't be sure about them.
Okay. That's a fact that you don't have a good enough memory to give us that specific detail right now. You would have had that knowledge back then.
Absolutely.
Okay. And when you came back from the market, was anyone with you?
My husband.
What did you guys do?
We parked the car. He parked the car. And then I unlocked both of the front doors to Adrian into the house. And then we proceeded to carry groceries into the kitchen.
And while you were doing that, was the front door open or closed in your house while you were carrying the groceries in?
They were both open.
And did anything out of the ordinary happen as you were carrying the groceries in your home?
Yes, a little dog wandered in the house.
Okay, tell us about this dog.
I remember the dog's name. This I remember definitely to be Lulu because the dog had a name tag. And I remember the dog to be about this long and maybe this tall.
Your Honor, for the record, approximately, I don't know,
Couple of
2
feet. I'm
feet
not good at that. And
wide by
foot and a half.
a foot and a half tall.
Um,
Would you say it was a smaller dog?
It was definitely a smaller dog. It had, I don't think it had long hair. I remember having not short hair, but maybe a little bit of a coat.
Okay.
And I remember it to be grayish, brownish. I also remember that the dog seemed quite old, and the dog had, I believe, cataracts, or it seemed to be partially blind.
Okay.
And it was wearing a leash,
Okay, you recall the dog was wearing a leash?
absolutely.
Okay, you have a good memory of that.
That, yes.
Thank you. When you saw this dog, you said the name of the dog based on the tag was Lulu?
Yes.
All right. Was there anyone with the dog? Any person with the dog?
No one.
Did anyone ever come to your home to claim the dog?
No.
What did you do with the dog after it came to your house?
Well, I called. There was an address and a phone number on the dog's tag. And I called the phone number and I left a message saying that I had found Lulu. I left my name and my phone number.
And what address was associated with this dog based on the tag?
I don't remember. It was up north of where we live on Bennett Canyon. I don't remember the address.
Okay. Your Honor, I have a voice recording. I marked this as Peoples 3 and the transcript as Peoples 3A.
Yes.
I'm going to play something for you, and I just want to see if you recognize the voice on it, okay? Your Honor, were you able to hear that?
Yes.
Do you recognize that voice?
Yes.
Who was that?
Me.
Okay. And when did you leave that message?
I left a message shortly after Lulu came to visit us, and I also left at least 2 other messages
Okay.
that day.
I have another recording. I marked this as Peoples 4, and the transcript is Peoples 4A, Your Honor.
Yes.
Do you recognize that voice?
Mhm.
Who's that?
Me?
Okay. Are these the calls that you left that day that you found the dog?
Yes, and I believe I left more than 2.
Okay. What happened next that day? Did you keep the dog?
Kept the dog. Next meeting within what period of time?
Well, that day, did you keep the dog in your home that day?
Kept the dog in the home, and I remember feeding it something. I don't remember what I fed it. We were in a little bit of trouble because we had 2 cats and they weren't too happy about having the dog visit us. And so we eventually put the cats back in the service porch, and I remember speaking with Boyd and Tess sitting on the couch holding the dog, petting the dog. That's pretty much my memory, unless you have other specific questions.
Well, Boyd and Tess, is that your...
My husband's son, my stepson, and his then fiance.
Do you remember anything unusual about the dog as they were petting it, holding it?
As I was petting it, what I thought there appeared to be blood on its paws.
Okay. Did you go to the address on that tag that particular day after you left these messages?
I did not.
Okay. And as you sit here right now, to the best of your memory, you didn't go there that day to the house?
I do not remember going there that day.
Okay. I have another recording. I marked this as Peoples 4, Your Honor.
You've marked 4, this would be 5?
I'm sorry, yes, Peoples 5.
And 5A?
Yes, thank you. Did you hear that?
I did,
Is that your voice?
yes.
So did you go over to the house that day and leave a note?
I do not remember leaving a note.
Okay. But that was your voice saying you left a note?
Yes.
That sounds like, are you saying you didn't leave a note, or are you just saying you don't exactly remember?
I'm saying I don't remember leaving a note.
But you're not saying, hey, I'm telling you I didn't leave a note.
I'm not saying that.
Okay. Does that sound like something you might have done?
Absolutely.
I have a photograph. May I mark this as people 6, Your Honor?
Yes.
Actually. This is people 6, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm sorry. You remark 1, people 6. I'm showing you what has been marked as people 6. I'm going to turn it upright so you can see it.
Mhm.
Do you recognize that?
I do not recognize it, but it's the kind of type that I use on my computer.
Do you see where it says call 310-274-2331?
Yes.
Do you recognize that?
Yes,
How do you recognize that?
I recognize my phone number, yes.
Okay. So that's your phone number on this particular note?
Correct,
And that looks like the kind of type that you would use?
right.
And does this appear like the type of note, knowing yourself, that you would make and put on
Yes.
that front door?
Yes,
Thank you. So, after going there that day and according to the message you left on the machine, leaving a note, what happened that evening with the dog?
I do not remember going there on December 23rd.
Okay. As you sit here today, you're saying you don't remember that?
I do not remember going to the house on December 23rd, no.
Okay. But you do acknowledge at least that was the message you
This
left?
could very well have been done by me, yes, absolutely.
Okay. So that particular night, what happened to the dog?
The dog slept in my husband's study and wrecked one of the carpets. And the dog slept in the study, yeah.
So you said it wrecked one of your carpets?
Well, it was trying to get out and it scratched the carpet to bits near the door.
It's displaced your poor cats and now it's ruined your carpet. Was this a welcome guest?
No, but it was a sweet little dog. It was a sweet little dog.
And you decided to keep it for the night?
Yeah.
What happened the next day?
The next day, I don't remember what time it was, but I decided I wanted to try to return the dog to the address on its tag.
I would ask you why, but I think I can guess.
You don't have to ask why.
Why did you want to get rid of the dog?
Well, I had a lot of things to do for Christmas. The dog was creating chaos with my cats, and I wanted it to go back home.
Okay, so what did you do?
What I did was, me and my husband and Boyd and Tess, my stepson and his then fiancée, walked up with the dog to the address on the dog's tag.
Okay, what did you do when you got there?
And knocked on the door multiple times, and at least 2 dogs bigger than Lulu, I could see through whatever window was there, and were wildly jumping up and down and barking.
Okay.
And then Boyd, my husband's son, said he wanted to climb over the fence to see what was going on, and I said, I felt something was very wrong, please don't climb over the fence.
Okay.
And he didn't climb over the fence, and then we went next door, the house north of the Berman house, and knocked on the door, and a young couple answered, and we told them about Lulu and asked if they would take her and return her to Berman, or we didn't know Berman's name at the time, but to the owner. And they said they would do that.
Okay, they agreed to do that.
Yes,
And this was the home, you believe, just adjacent to Susan Berman's home?
it was the one adjacent, and it was to the right of the home, facing the home, which would make it north of.
Okay. I have one last audio, Your Honor. May I mark this as Peoples 7?
Yes.
And the transcript will be Peoples 7A.
Yes.
And again, is that your voice?
Yes,
Is that a message you left today that you gave the dog to the neighbors?
it's my voice, I left it, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Had you ever, how many years now have you lived on Benedict Canyon?
Over 25,
How many times have you seen a dog loose without anyone with it on
Never.
Benedict Canyon?
never before.
Are you saying in the 25 years you lived there, that's the first time you've seen a dog loose on that street?
I believe that to be true, yeah.
Why is it? Is it
I saw
something
a
about...
coyote, but I didn't know.
Okay, so there are coyotes in that area?
Very occasionally. Mhm.
Okay. And is there anything based on your knowledge of that street as to why you think you wouldn't see loose dogs there on that street?
It's a very busy street, and people drive like maniacs on Benedict Canyon.
Okay. And as far as you know, did Susan Berman ever, or the owner of that dog, ever collect that dog as far as you know?
I have no idea.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
I just have a few questions for you.
Yes.
You have made clear that the Benedict Canyon Road is a very busy thoroughfare.
Yes.
And for those of us that aren't as familiar with that area, that is a major thoroughfare that goes from the valley over the hills.
Correct.
So a lot of people use it to cut through from the valley to Beverly Hills.
Yes.
And the traffic that you have described for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury is something that is constant.
It's not constant.
Well, by constant, I mean it happens rush hour every morning, every evening. Is when this is an extremely busy thoroughfare.
Usually.
I'm sure on holidays that may differ, but generally.
On holidays, it's less, much less.
And the people that travel this road, this major thoroughfare, often travel at speeds far exceeding the speed limit.
Yes.
Would it be fair to say, ma'am, Dr. Garfield, that it's rare not only to see, very rare, you've never seen a dog loose on the street, very rare to see people walking on Benedict Canyon as well?
I would not say that. I not frequently, but I do see people walking on Benedict Canyon, yes.
So on a rare occasion,
Close to the side.
right, very close to the side.
Very close.
And as I recall, there's not a sidewalk provided.
No, occasionally there's a sidewalk,
Very rarely.
but rarely.
Along that stretch where you live and where you tried to deliver Lulu.
I don't remember there being a sidewalk on that particular stretch.
Correct. I want to ask you one final set of questions regarding the note that you left at the Berman residence. I understand your testimony to be that you don't dispute leaving the note, but you just have no recollection of it.
I have no recollection. I do not dispute.
And our mind can be a tricky thing. That is, memories fade, and often we have no recollection of something that happened. We just, 15 years later, can't remember it all. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Redirect examination? Will there be any?
So, today you have certain memories you've told us about, right?
Say that again, please.
You have certain memories that you've told this jury about today.
Yes.
Have you had any problem recollecting what you've told this jury today?
No.
Have you had any problem telling this jury, hey, the things I don't remember, I don't remember?
No problem.
The things you have remembered you've told this jury, is there any doubt in your mind that those are in fact your memories?
No doubt.
Thank you, ma'am.
May this witness be excused?
No objection, Your Honor.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes, thank you.
May be excused?
Yes, thank you.
You're excused, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you.
The people may call their next witness.
Thank you. The people will call Kathryn Cutter.
Please come stand and give your sign. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you're about to give and the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I swear. Please be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name.
Kathryn, Kathryn. Shaw, SHAW, hyphen, Cutter, CUTTER.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Good morning, Ms. Cutter.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Do you work?
No.
Okay. Do you run the household? You're a house runner.
I am.
Is that the right term, Your Honor?
That's correct.
I'll take
House
it.
runner.
I'll take
Okay.
it.
Are you married?
I am.
And for how long have you been married?
20 years on July 1st.
To the same individual?
Very same one.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Where do you live now?
I live in the Westwood area, right by UCLA.
Okay. And what year did you get married?
2000.
2000. Where did you live when you first got married?
1531 Benedict Canyon Drive.
Okay. And you say you got married in 2000.
Yes.
Did you purchase, was the home purchased after you got married?
No, my husband bought the house about a year and a half before we were married. So, and we bought it, we went shopping for it together. So it was going to be our house after our marriage.
Okay. And how long had you been dating or engaged to your husband?
I think we were married, we've been together about 3.5 years.
Okay. So then I take it, other than, strike that. Was he living in that home for the 3.5 years prior to?
Yes, he moved in about a year and a half, well, 2 years before our wedding, so we've
Okay.
been there a while.
And I apologize,
No worries.
I'm in between. It's a new thing for me that I have to sometimes put them on to read and not put them on to see her. I've never done this with a witness before. This is a new thing for me, so I'm getting comfortable with it.
I've got some bifocals here. if you
Yeah.
want.
So, without getting too personal, I take it then, did you spend some time at that house prior to actually moving in when you guys got married?
Yes.
All right. So, for how many years was it that you would say you spent a significant amount of time at that house?
Well, as soon as he bought it, I was there quite a bit.
Okay. At that time, both prior to getting married while staying or being at that home, and after you got married and you were at that home, were you employed?
Yeah, I was, back in those days, I worked as a freelance writer and music video producer for several record labels. But It's freelance work, so I worked from home.
Okay. So would you say you spent significant amounts of time at home?
Much time at home.
Okay. And I'm going to show you an aerial photograph.
Okay.
What has previously been marked as, I have it here, People's 1, People's 2. Thank you. Do you see what's been marked as People's 2?
Yep.
Do you see your home on this?
Yep.
Which one is yours?
It's the one, it's like the very top of the picture. It's got a check mark on it. It says 1530 at Benedict Canyon. That is definitely our little house.
That's your house.
Yep.
Okay. And does this photograph fairly inaccurately depict that location, Benedict Canyon?
Yes.
All right. What was that neighborhood like?
Well, it's quite secluded, I would say, because it's really just a street there, and there are no streets that go up very much. So during rush hour, it's pretty trafficy, but when the traffic's quiet, like on the weekends or at night, it's incredibly quiet.
Did you feel safe living there?
I really did. Well, because it's just one road, there's only one way out in each direction. And, you know, if someone were to like rob a house or something, they can't really get away. So, I always felt extremely safe there.
In the 5 years that you were there, associated with that house, were you aware of any crime other than protect one incident?
Not one thing.
Okay. What's the wildlife like in that area?
It is robust.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we pulled some shrubs out in our yard and they found a rattlesnake that was enormous. We had like a mountain lion, a lot of coyotes, a lot of bunnies, raccoons, possums, you name it. It's like Wild Kingdom. A couple of deer, like deer tarantulas.
Sounds like an adventurous neighborhood.
It was.
Are you familiar with, well, check that. Based on what you knew about that street, was that a safe place to leave small children unattended?
No, you couldn't leave, like little kids, dogs, cats, like they need to be in the house.
Why?
It wasn't safe, because the coyotes are big and pretty daring up there, like.
What about the traffic?
Like for rush hour, it was pretty tough, but you know, mid-morning or on the weekends, it was so quiet. It was like, you could hear there's a brook up the street, you could hear running, it was lovely.
But I guess what I'm asking is, in terms of leaving small animals out there,
Yeah, you can.
when cars were driving and there wasn't a lot of traffic, how quickly would they drive?
Fast. And it was dangerous. I saw a dog when I was walking Lulu, who I guess is gonna come up shortly. I saw a dog get hit by a car. It's a real shame.
Okay.
It's dangerous.
And you kind of live up around a curve, right?
Yeah,
If you look at
Yeah.
People's 2,
like a blind curve,
cars come pretty fast around that curve.
really fast.
Did you know a woman named Susan Berman?
Yep. She was my next door neighbor.
I'm going to show you what's previously been marked as People's 1. Do you recognize that?
I do, that's Susan.
Okay. And I have another photograph. May I mark this as People's 8?
People's 8.
That's Susan and Lily.
That's Susan and Lulu?
Yeah,
Okay. And we're going to get to it a little bit, but do you know a dog named
I
Lulu?
do. I did.
Let's catch the punchline. Did you eventually end up with Lulu?
I did.
End up with Lulu?
We adopted Lulu, yes.
Okay. What was your relationship with Susan Berman?
I chatted with her a couple of times because I was home and working. She sometimes would come over and ask for help. One time she called to see if my husband would go over. She had a snake in her yard and she wanted him to get rid of it. He wasn't home. But we chatted for a little bit. She was a writer, obviously, I guess what name is that. And she would come over in the morning, but not, like 10 or 11, she'd be in her pajamas, and I was consequence, right? I was also wearing my pajamas, so we kind of bonded over our wearing pajamas late in the day. But I didn't know her super well, just to chat.
Okay. What was she like?
She loved to talk, that's for sure. She was quite friendly to me, and she's fun. She was funny, and she got a big kick out of our mutual pajama wearing. But she was very private. She didn't like people walking up to her house. Sometimes we'd get a piece of her mail, and I'd go to put it in her mailbox, but she told me, you know, if I found stuff like that, leave it in the mailbox, because she didn't answer the door. She didn't like to answer the door.
Okay. This is what she told you?
Mm-hmm.
Is that you?
Yeah.
She's typing everything we say down?
Yes.
Nice, so,
Say like you're too fast.
I'm sorry.
And will you please guide the witness to
It's probably my fault.
have her pause?
Sure.
Sorry.
She's typing everything we say down,
Okay.
and it's different than normal conversation. I'm the biggest offender here. Well, I'm the second biggest offender. I think everyone will agree on that, Your Honor. But I need to finish my question before you answer so she can have a pause. And I need to not interrupt you and let you finish your answer. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Did you ever socialize with Susan?
No.
Were you ever inside of her home?
No.
Okay. So your knowledge of her was your interactions with her as a name?
Indeed.
Okay. Who knew Susan better based on you being there and seeing this at the time? You or your husband?
Oh, definitely me.
Why is that?
My husband is a cinematographer, and when he's working, he travels a lot. So he's just not home that much.
Okay. Apart from speaking with her when she'd come over to your house, or apart from speaking to her when you go to her house, would you see her around her property?
No, not really.
Would you ever see her in her backyard?
I heard her in her backyard quite a bit.
Okay. Could you see her backyard from your backyard?
I could see the way the house is situated. The canyon's very narrow, so our backyard, you know, has a little terrace and then steps that go up quite steeply to be as high as the second story, a little higher, with a little seating pad up there. And from up there, I could see her backyard, like the top of her back door. I couldn't see the ground. I could see the top of her door, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. You say you could hear her though?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, we have separated by one tiny little fence, and I could hear her. She'd sit out, and when the weather was nice, she'd have, you know, a couple people over, and she'd be sitting out there, and I'd just hear her talking and laughing, and the dogs, you know, kind of rustling around and barking, and it just, you know, she was out there. It's not very far away.
Okay. How many dogs did she have?
3.
Do you remember their names?
Yes, there's Lulu, and who's a wire fox terrier, and she had bred Lulu and had 2 of her puppies, Romeo and Golda. So there are 3.
Okay. Did you ever see her dogs with leashes on?
I know she kept their leashes on them when they were in the house, but I never saw her out of the house with the dogs. I never saw her walk them or take them out, ever.
Okay. How do you know she had leashes on them in the house?
Well, you know, one time when I had taken a piece of mail to her, I saw that, and I could hear her kind of jangling around when she would be outside. And she told me so.
Yeah. What did she say about it?
Well, she said she just needed to keep them close to her. She liked having them, she didn't want them running out like up into the yard and getting into stuff.
It was an easy way for her to kind of handle them?
Yes.
Were they a handful?
Yes.
Yes. Was Lulu a handful?
No, she was a sweet little lamb, but the other 2, I think, gave her a hard time.
Okay. Would you see Susan with her dogs?
I never saw her with her dogs outside the house, never.
Okay. But to your knowledge, based on your conversations with Susan, she always kept leashes on them?
Yes, she was incredibly attached to those dogs. She loved them dearly.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, you know, she didn't have any kids that I knew of, and she was single, and I think sometimes she was, like when she'd come over and chat with me, I got the idea that she liked a little bit of company, and I really think they were her company.
Could you ever tell, based on overhearing her interactions with her dog, how she felt about them?
Oh, she doted on them.
Tell us what
Well,
you mean by
they were, she just, you know, just, no matter what she was doing, half of her attention was always on the dogs, and she doted on them, and, you know, you could just hear it in her voice. They were always front of her mind.
And is this something you're hearing from where?
When she'd be outside with her friends, and just, you know, she'd be sort of half talking to whoever and half scolding Romeo to quit beating up on Lulu, and just, you know, you could hear it.
And was there something about the way she spoke with her dogs that told you
I think
something?
it's like speaking to a baby.
Give us examples.
You know, she'd just be like, she'd call him her baby, you know, no, baby, don't, oh, baby. Make me sad. Leave your mama alone. Just like a mother hen. Sweet.
So she spoke to them like her children?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to show you some photographs. Your Honor, I have an envelope, it says item number 6 on it. The items recovered from Susan Berman's home. I'm going to open this and remove some photographs from it. I'm going to mark some separate photographs out of this envelope.
Yes.
I'll mark them all together as one exhibit, A, B, C, D. So this will be People's 9. There's 4 photographs that I've marked as People's 9, Your Honor.
So A through D.
Yes. I'm going to show you what's been marked as People's 9A. Do you recognize that picture?
Yes.
Who is that?
It's definitely Susan, and I think it might be Romeo. I'm not sure. It's not Lulu.
It's not
But you
Lulu,
can
but it
see,
looks...
yeah, and you can see that harness thing, that dog leash. That's what they always had on.
People's 9B, Your Honor. This is a more close-up.
Oh, yeah.
Is that, can you get a picture of that
I
dog?
believe that's Susan, and that looks like Romeo to me. It's either Romeo or Golden. It's not Lulu.
Okay. People's 9C, Your Honor. This is a different dog.
Oh, yeah.
You
I'm not
recognize
sure
that
who
dog?
that is. No. It's like a puppy, though.
Okay, but again,
And I actually had dogs before Romeo and Golden and Lulu. There were other dogs.
okay, so you don't know when this picture was taken?
I don't.
All you know, this is just another picture of a dog wearing a leash.
Yeah, and that green leash is that kind of leash she always had on.
People's 9D. I guess that's just a close-up,
Yeah.
again, of that same dog. You don't know that dog?
Don't.
Your Honor, I have another evidence envelope labeled item 45. I'm going to open it up. Again, items recovered from Susan Berman's home.
People's 10.
Yeah, I'll again take out 4 photographs, Your Honor. 10, A through D.
Yes.
I'm going to mark, show you People's 10A. Do you recognize that dog at all?
That's either Romeo or Golda,
Okay.
the ears.
Again, you recognize the type of leash on that dog?
Yes, it's that green kind of cloth.
Is that the type she used?
Yeah.
Showing you people's 10B. I guess that's again
Yeah.
the same dog?
Yes.
Better picture, do you recognize it?
Yeah. I think it's Golda.
Actually, I'll only take 3 photographs out. People's 10 and C on it. So it's only people's 10, A, B, and C. These are 2 dogs inside of a home.
That.
You recognize those dogs?
I think that's Lulu on the right. She's so much younger.
Okay, so that's potentially Lulu on the right. Does it look like Lulu? It's a younger dog?
Yeah, yeah, because of the color of the ears. And that other one, I'm pretty sure is Romeo because he's so much bigger than she was.
Okay, and these again are pictures of 2 dogs inside of a home. You said you've never been inside Susan Berman's home?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
But again, those types of leashes, you recognize
Yes.
those types of leashes?
That green web leash.
The type Susan Berman.
Yes, all the time. At least as far as I saw.
So all of these pictures I've shown you, people's 9 and people's 10, you don't know when they were taken, right?
No.
You don't know exactly where each of one of them was taken?
No.
You just recognize some of the dogs?
Yes.
And you recognize the type of leash depicted in each one of these pictures on each one of these dogs
Yes.
as the type of leash that Susan Berman used?
Yes.
I'm going to take you back to a time when you were living in Benedict Canyon, around the time that Susan Berman was murdered. Do you remember what year it was?
It was 2000.
Remember what month?
It was Christmas Eve, so December 24th.
You don't remember that?
Easy to remember, yes.
What happened on December 24th, 2000?
Well, my husband and I were hanging around in the morning, and some neighbors knocked on the door, and they had this dog on a leash. And they said that they found her loose in the street and had taken her home, but they were leaving for the holiday and going out of town. So they said that they'd left some messages at the number on the dog's tag, but they hadn't heard anything back. So would we mind if we held on to the dog until the owner got home? And that owner was Susan, and I recognized the phone number, and it had the address. So we took the dog, and I'm sorry?
Your intention was to keep the dog and give it back to
Until
Susan?
Susan got home, yeah.
Were you ever able to give that dog back to Susan?
No. We had the dog for a little while, and I had taken her out to see if she needed to go to the bathroom or anything, and just to let her be outside, because we didn't, we didn't have anything set up for a dog. So I took her outside, and I could hear the other dogs running around in the yard. So I walked up to that landing, it's up a little way, so I could see down at her backyard a little bit, and I saw that her back door was open, which I thought was strange. If she weren't home, she wouldn't have left the door open like that. And the dogs I could hear them running around loose, which it's not a familiar sound, because they were pretty much always right next to her. So I told my husband that maybe Susan had gotten home to go knock on the door. And he did. And he came back and he said that nobody had answered the door. So I didn't really do anything about it right away, but the more I sort of thought about it, the stranger it seemed. So I told him I was going to call the police, so I did.
Was it out of the ordinary for you that her dogs were loose?
Yes, it was very strange that the door was open, and that she would not be home, have the door open, and the dog, it just didn't add up.
Was it like Susan to have her dog loose on Benedict Canyon?
No, the fact that Lulu was out in the street was very strange. But it didn't immediately seemed like,
You didn't think she was dead?
no, of course not. And when I called the police, I originally just sort of thought, well, because she's on her own, maybe she had a health problem or fallen down and hurt herself or...
So let me stop you there.
Of course.
Although you didn't suspect that she was dead, just listen to my question. The fact that her dog was loose at least told you something was wrong with her.
Yes. I was concerned for her.
I have a audio tape from 911, and I marked this as People's 11, Your Honor, in the transcript. People's 11A.
Yes.
Your Honor, we don't have this transcribed on the video screen. Would you like me to pass copies to the jury?
Any objection? Publication? Let me publish it to the jury.
The transcript. I have extra copies for the court as well. I have one, please. You have one. You want one?
Yes.
You want one? You don't.
They're fine, thank you.
He's gonna switch it now. We'll switch it right now. The next line goes to the audio.
Does everybody have a transcript?
Listen to this, please, and then I'll ask you a question later.
I'm the CD operator 348. Yes, hi. I live in Beverly Hills, and my next door neighbor, one of our other neighbors, found her dog on the street yesterday. And was it dead? Oh, no. We have her. The problem is, they gave us the dog, and we went over next door to see if Susan was home, and her car's in the driveway. She's not answering her door. The package is on her doorstep. She's not answering her phone. Her back door is wide open. So, I don't know what's going on. We're doing it, it's open, going out, so you're not going inside. Oh, no, we're not. No, we're not. We have, her other dogs are in the yard, and they're barking, and they'll have dogs, and, she would not, our area, there are animals, nobody leaves their dog out overnight, so, seriously. Okay, what's her address? That's a good question. I can give you mine, she's next door, I'm not sure the number. Yeah, what's your address? 1531 Benedict Canyon Drive. I hope she's okay. She looks like herself, and I hate to think. Yeah. Is she elderly, or? Not particularly, but you never know. I mean, teenagers sit there in the shower and get knocked out. Yeah. What's your phone number? 310-276-7470. So what was your name? My name is Kathryn Cutter, C-U-T-T-E-R. Kathryn, was it C or K? K. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get talked about this and check it out, okay? We're going to go to your house when you can direct, okay? Okay, thanks. Bye.
Were you able to hear that?
Yes.
Do you recognize the voice on it?
I believe it's me.
Do you believe it's you?
I
Or?
do.
Is that the call you made that day?
Yes.
I apologize, Your Honor. One last item. People's, well, and people's 12 for the transcript.
All right.
Play something for you.
Probably it's time for us to take our break. So we'll pick up with that when we return at 11 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, do not converse among yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with this case. Do not form or express any opinion on the case.
Should we collect the transcripts or?
How should we do it?
We get them.
It's fine.